TVC News. I'm Ibrahim Shita, standing in for Yori Folari. Over the week, we've been talking about issues affecting Nigerians and how we can navigate the path, politically, educationally, and even economic-wise, and some other issues that have happened in different parts of the country. But this time around, we'll be narrowing it down to how the governance is affecting the youth, especially the party at the ends of affairs, navigating the murky waters of the challenges we're facing in the country, and how we will definitely move from the challenges to the El Dorado, or the better the better experience that we are actually clamoring for in Nigeria. In this wise, we'll be talking about the mobilization of youths for the renewed hope agenda, and I'll be speaking with the APC National Youth Leader, Dayo Israel, who is joining me in the studio. It's good to see you this morning.
Thank you very much, my brother. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so good. Even though the weather has been so cold yesterday, but this morning just a bit.
See the good side of it is weather for two.
Weather for two. But everyone has to be at work.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right. So let's begin by looking at because it's been more than a year. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had taken over the reins of affairs, and then. Nigerians can clearly recall most of the promises made by the APC during the electioneering period, especially relating it to the renewed hope agenda. So how would you describe the situation post-election?
First, I want to say thank you to TVC for having me on the show, and I want to say that the last 1 year of the Tinubu administration have been an interesting year. First is a year of redirecting Nigeria on the path of progress. Now, it's not to say that this redirection does not come with its own challenges or pain. Of course, like childbirth has its own level of pain. Yes, you're going to give birth to a baby, a bouncing baby boy, is a teen of joy, but the mother has got to go through the labor pain. And that pain at that moment can be very strong and very, I've heard of women who are at the point of birth who are cursing their husband that you put me in this scenario, and the man is just like, it's for good. But the funny part of childbirth is that the moment the baby comes to life and the mother carries the baby in their hand, and people begin to see the fruit and the benefit of all of the investment and all of the challenges, what comes out of it is joy, happiness at seeing a new thing. One thing that because I campaigned vigorously for the president. Right. I went to 33 states personally, apart from the ones that we went on the campaign. I met people, boots on ground. I interacted with a lot of young people. I convinced a lot of young people to vote for president. And so I have a lot of relationship across all of those states, and they call me every now and then, to talk about things, to request for support. So while we understand very strongly that there are challenges, I think the greatest joy that we have as a woman in labor is understanding that there's a baby that is coming. The president is committed to helping to build a new Nigeria. He wants to see a country that is prosperous economically. He wants to see a country that is competitive globally. He wants to see a country where young people have equal opportunities. And that's why a lot of policies that is rolled out, for example, you will see the student loan, consumer credit program as well, are trying to see how we can begin to have the standard of living that people in the other parts of the world and the Western world do have. Now, it's not going to be an overnight issue. It's not going to suddenly become El Dorado. But the joy that we have is that the man at the steering has passion for a new Nigeria. He's not seeking self-aggrandizement, is just keen about building the Nigeria that we can be proud of. Now, how achieving that can have its own challenge, as I alluded earlier. But I think in the last 1 year, there have been signs that we're on the path to progress. In project management, it's what we call iteration. And so you have seen a lot of iteration here. And so when you're managing a project, you have your pilot session, you test run some things, you see how those things are adaptable to the situation, and then sometimes you take a step back and say, okay, this worked, this hasn't worked. And so one of the things that you must also realize is that there's a lot of iterative method to see how things can be better and how we can introduce things, because what the president is doing is what they call in project management change management. So you need to understand stakeholders engagement, you need to understand risk management and various elements of change management. And so change management is never easy. You know, it's not easy on stakeholders, it's not easy on beneficiaries, but then you're able to iterate. And one thing that you must, you know, recognize is that the president has been a listening president. So there are policies that have been introduced to see how it would work in our society and improve the life of people. And when there are areas that lessons have been learned on what can be improved upon, one good thing is that we have a listening president who says, you know what, let's go back to the drawing board, let's do things better. So the last 1 year has not necessarily been best in terms of economic output, in terms of money in the hand of the Nigerian people. But what is important is that we're in a change management process, and that we recognize that we're on the path to building a Nigeria that is sustainable, that the economy would work for everybody, and that equal opportunities will be available for everybody. I was talking to my friend today as I was driving here that there was a particular car that we're talking about, and we saw that that car cost about 400 million, and I'm like, oh my God, this same car in London, I know young people who can, you know, pay £100 a month, £500 a month, £1,000 a month to get that car over a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year period, and you're paying like a mortgage. But we don't have that kind of thing in Nigeria. You need to put cash on the table. That's one of the reasons why the president is introducing this consumer credit system, so that, you know, and it's a process. When you introduce it, you begin to implement it on a stage basis, and then you begin to scale widely. So the same thing for the student loan and many other initiatives of the president. So my joy, and I think that I hope that Nigerian can see that the president has a very strong passion for Nigeria, and he wants to be able to help to put structure in place. The ideas that will come at some cost, personal cost to a lot of people, but the man that we have in the villa, if he thinks that in the long run Nigerians will benefit from it, he will take those tough decisions.
Right, so we'll talk about some of these programs, especially the student loan and also the credits that you mentioned. But then, you know, referring to the iteration stage, you said that is somewhat where the administration, the current administration is. And that speaks to the issue where people will say it does appear that the Tinubu-led administration wasn't ready, you know, for governance, you know, because it looks like, okay, the way you sounded, does it look like a try and error thing, or does it look like, okay, the president is only trying to listen to Nigerians, especially when he introduces a program and he feels, okay, this is the way Nigerians think about it, and then it goes back and goes back to the drawing table and bring the best?
My brother, Nigeria is a very complex nation. There's no one size fits all. Some things in this country is not black and white. You understand? There are gray areas. And when you want to be an inclusive leader, when you introduce something, you also want to see the feedback from the people. And you must be able to then adapt. You know, I'll give you an example. There was a list of board members that was released, and people clamored and said, we are not represented, we're not this and that. And the president, you know, say, you know what? Let's see how we can improve on this and make this better. A lot of work has been put on it. Yeah, people still came out and say, oh, this and that, you know. But the reality is that if you want to, what the president is trying to do is not doing the same thing that people have done and we're still in the same place. Only a fool does the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. You don't, when you want to release a product into the market, you've got to test the market. There's no drug that comes into the economy or for consumption by the people without them first piloting. As a matter of fact, they test it on rats, pigs, and other stuff before they bring it for human. So we don't expect, with all due respect, that every ideas would automatically just produce the best result. But when you are a leader and you have a direction and you know what you want for your people, when you introduce something and you see that, maybe we can do better in this, maybe we can tweak it here, that's even part of leadership. It's a responsive leadership. It's a leadership that is not saying, I know it all. But it's a leadership to say, let's collaborate. Let's bring people together. Let's hear from the thoughts of the citizen. But let's not stay too much on that. Let's focus on the fact that a lot of work is being done across multiple sectors. Aviation sector, creative sector, and many other sectors across the country to ensure that the Nigerian people live a better life. Yes, many of those work, it's like when you're planting a seed and you put it in the ground, it has seasons. There's times and seasons. It doesn't mean that the day you plant yam or rice, you will reap the rice. So there are some days that you may have to be, endure a few, what is it called? But then I think the way I see some of the challenges is that growth is a process. And so there's a song I was singing in church on Sunday. I don't know. Let me tell you the lyrics. It says, Jesuni balogun oko, emashe jeka foya. Christ is the captain of the ship. Let us not go weary. So as a Christian, I have a faith that if I have God handling my matter, I can go to bed. So I don't want to be blasphemous, but there's also the mindset that if I trust the man at the center, at the wheel, and I think that he has what it takes, and I know his intentions are genuine, I'm at peace because I know he will make the best decision for the family. So and what we are doing as a party is to also support the effort of the president, to support the administration. Because on election day, in Nigeria, for example, you don't see the picture of the candidate on the ballot paper. You see the logo of the political party. And so as a party, we feel responsible for the administration. We feel that we must take responsibility to help the administration fail. Because to succeed, not to help the administration not to fail. The administration succeed. Because if the administration fails, they would say the party has failed. And we know that we as the party, where, they say party is supreme. And so we're doing our best as a party to also complement the effort of the president. In particular, under the leadership of our new national chairman, Abdullahi Umaru Ganduje, the former governor of Kano State. He has been able to introduce a lot of different innovations. In the youth wing of the party, of course, at the main mother party, we have the digitization of our membership program. We're also setting up the Progressive Institute and a lot of other things. But we understand as a party as well that the biggest demography in Nigeria is the young people under the age of 45, 48, 35, thereabout. 70% of our population are in this category and this age bracket. As a party, our constitution says young people, I think it's the age of 40, thereabout, and all of that. So we're concerned, and we know that, the last election was decided by young people. The next election was going to be decided by young people. And so we're also ensuring that governance meets the target of the young people. And so at the youth wing of the party, we've been doing a lot to complement the effort of the government. For example, last month, we had our workplace readiness and enterprise skill training program, where we trained over 1,000 young people in Abuja, and we're taking this around the whole country on, employability skills, workplace skills, because the reality you find is that people say that there are no jobs. It's not really that there is no job. Many a time there are jobs, but people don't have the necessary competences, skills, and capacity to do those jobs.
Speaking about jobs, we definitely get to that. But if you look at the Renewed Hope agenda initiated by the president, which include poverty alleviation, food security, which everyone is even crying over now, job creation, which you mentioned, anti-corruption fight, and the rule of law, among others, seems to be a slow path of manifestation, trailing a slow path to manifestation. But Nigerians are saying, let me say, humans globally, they're not patient when it comes to, we want results. To see results.
Yes.
We just want to see it. So they want to know, how long do they have to wait for them to reap the dividends of their votes?
So I would say, I'm trying to speak a Yoruba proverb, but I want to try to translate it. It's something about a taste is in the pudding, something
the taste of the...
but the Yoruba one is deeper than that.
Is it,
to say that
you
can already see the signs of the hand, and that's why I keep emphasizing on what the president is trying to do. When the purpose of something is not known, abuse is inevitable. If you don't understand that the president is not just trying to run Nigeria, let me give you an example. Today, subsidy has gone, a lot of other things. These were things that other administrations were advised, decisions. They're tough decisions. It's not an easy one. You have to be a revolutionalist. You have to be a change manager to take bold decisions that others were shying off. The president can continue to pay the subsidy, can continue to do all of this and float, have the naira, defend the naira and all of that. But the result you would see is that you would be doing the same thing over and over again. And in the long run, a generation is going to pay for this. And the president is saying, you know what, why don't we try to take decisions that have a bit of challenge at the moment, but will give us a long-term breakthrough. And that's the mindset. And in the midst of that, you would also realize that he's doing a lot to ensure that that pain is not, continuous for the people. There's more money in the hand of the state government. There's more money in the hand of the local government, for example. From not paying subsidy, a lot more revenue is going into, FAC and JAC and all of that. So it's now for us to also call on the other tiers of government to be able to do their own part to ameliorate the challenges and the pain of this. The truth is that when you want to see something that is, that's why I talked about change management. You're not, it's going to come with its own process and system, because it's towing a path that is uncommon. But he wants to be a president and leaves a legacy. And we also, at the level of the party, we want to support him to achieve that progress. And that's why we're doing our own. Like I said to you, part of what people want to see is that they want to see jobs. They want social justice. They want to be able to sustainable livelihood. They want to be able to take care of their family. And we have said, you know what, how can we help the president? Under my office as a national leader of the party, we launched this REST program from the, I think it was the 3rd to 6th or 7th of this month, where we've built capacities of these young people, workplace skills, employability skills, and they are now job ready. We're looking at people that we can push to, employment in the private sector, in the public sector, and all of that. Right now, for example, next month, I think from the 8th to the 12th of July, we're also running a program we call EDET, Progressive Enterprise Development and Training Program. Yeah. The goal of that program is to help startups. So a lot of people run businesses, but how is that business very sustainable? There are skills that helps you to be able to succeed beyond even the soft skills, networking skills, operational skills, structure. Many businesses cannot access loans because they've not been able to put structure, even financial structure, across their organization. And there are many of these grants out there. People are not even aware, for example. Lagos State, for example, grants you up to 5 million naira loan through the Lagos State Enterprise Trust Fund. There are many Lagosians who have not accessed this, even though they go around the local government to talk about. And they have a fixed interest rate, I think about 6-7% thereabout. Smidan also runs a grant program and also loans for entrepreneurs and startups and all of that. So what we're trying to do is to train entrepreneurs. This is going to be launched in Lagos. The governor will be there, the national chairman will be there, and some of the other leaders. And for 5 days, we're doing intensive business management and structure and fundraising techniques training for entrepreneurs and startups in Lagos, organized by the APC Youth Wing. But this is open to all Nigerians, okay, because I was going to ask whether it's for the... No, it's for everybody. It's no. That's why initially we called it PREDET, which is Progressive Enterprise Development Training Program. But we moved the P out there because we don't want people to think that this is about our party. No, it's just what we are doing as CSR to the wider audience of the wider Nigerian audience. Our goal is to see Nigerian youth, either you are APC, PDP, NMPP, Labour Party, obedient, disobedient, whatever you are, that you prosper and succeed. Because the true essence of governance and politics is that lives of humans are improved, the citizenry. And so when there are more millionaires, young millionaires in the society, we are proud as a party to say we have been able to turn young boys to men.
So those people, I guess what you wanted to say a little earlier was the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So
yes.
It's only when you taste it that you're able to say that it is actually good. But then this administration has been criticized for prioritizing economic development over social welfare and being out of touch to ordinary Nigerians. But then you've tried to make us understand, all of the process that the current administration is going, because the cost of living has also increased significantly since the removal of fuel subsidy, which you alluded to. And how do you respond to this kind of allegations that the renewed hope agenda neglects the need of ordinary Nigerians, especially the young people?
So I think that's a misconception. So I mentioned this earlier. If, for example, as a father and head of the family, and I say, we go for 4 holidays in a year, let's cut that holiday to 2, and we take the money from those 2 holidays and we give it to mommy to buy food for the house, take care of the family, shop for the home, and buy you new clothes. As a father, I've cut down that, I put the money in the hands of mommy. My role is to provide resources. Mommy's role is to furnish the house with what we need. But mommy goes and buy bags and shoes and keeps some stuff for herself and is not spending the money for the family. Do you keep blaming daddy? Yes, you blame him for, but there's something he doesn't have a control for. So if the president says, I've saved, cut out subsidy, I've saved another 1 trillion naira every month. I put it in the hand of the governors and the local government. And the people in the local community are not seeing the impact. Then we can't say that this is national matter. Because, for example, in Lagos, look at what we have. We have our Blue Line rail services. We're launching our Red Line. We're launching other systems, other rail systems in Lagos. We've bought new ferries and boats. That's a governor in Lagos, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Many roads and bridges have been completed. I went to Agege, Paja yesterday. I climbed the flyover. I was like, this is even a tourist attraction. Because that bridge at that new Red Line store, when you're on that bridge, you can see the aircraft and the tarmac of the air. That's a good view. Those are part of things you enjoy abroad. That's a governor that is working. So the question is, what are the others doing? When the Minister of Work, Umahi, for example, was governor in Ebonyi State, you saw all the infrastructure development that he did. Same with Governor Wike, who is now minister. Every weekend there was also one new project, infrastructure development or the other. And so if you now have governors who are also receiving similar increased funding, and they're not able to either pay salary or pay a minimum wage, or they're not introducing infrastructure development, you can't put that bulk on the president's table. It needs to be the responsibility. And that's why as citizens, we need to be able to hold leaders accountable at different levels. And that's what the president keeps saying. I'm putting more money, I'm saving more money, I'm putting them back in the hands of your governor. I cannot come to your state and decide how your state is being run. There are governors who are spending money on their people, they're introducing projects. We just need to hold more governors responsible to be able to introduce new innovations and new ideas in the various...
Based on your experience, especially political-wise, if you look at the way governors, because these are subnationals, and some of them, especially if they belong to other parties, they actually behave differently. They just want to prove themselves beyond the party at the apogee. But this current administration, how do you see the president galvanizing, harnessing all of the resources in all of the states and making all the governors come together to be able to deliver dividends of governance to their people?
The reality is
especially in terms of security, job creation.
The reality is that they all have their mandate. So the truth is there's very little the president can do. He can only provide advisory role. He can only lobby. The governors are the chief executives of their state. And so it will now be the values of these governors on what they're able to do. And we've seen a few of them. For example, Governor Abdulrahman in Kwara is also doing a lot. He's doing a Ilorin Smart City, a lot of incubation centers, a lot of projects for the people in Kwara State, the garment factory, for example. You see some states, for example, I think Abia was the one that was running this new electricity energy project and all of that. I also hear that the governor of Enugu State is doing some good stuff in the state. So you see some pockets of development. But then, it would also then be the leadership interest and capacity of the various chief executives. Now, the president cannot force a governor, or cannot, in particular when the governor is not in his party.
All right, that being said, we have Yakub from Dr. joining us on the show. Yakub, please make your point very quickly.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe you are hearing me clear. If you are hearing me clear, please give me a sign, please.
Loud and clear.
Once again.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning to your guys. I'm person of Comedian Israel. I think I'm talking to the right person because I believe it has direct contact to Mr. President. Now, Mr. Dayo, you have mentioned the student loan. I want to put this question to you. One, this student loan of 18 now, as it begins, if it has begun, how the student is going to go about it? That's number one. Number two, you are talking about Mr. President removing the fuel subsidy and then more money to the governor in various states in this country. And then I can tell you for free, Mr. Dayo, there is nothing, a lot of, some few governments are doing the wonder, especially Lagos State, Borno State, I can mention those two, that I need that I do wonder things. But the remaining governor, if not 80% of them, there is nothing to show for it that because Mr. President removed the fuel subsidy and then all Nigeria were in pain. And then more money to the governor and then nothing to show. Let me give you a typical example here. In fact, this is so painful. If you travel from Lagos to Abeokuta this morning, Mr. Dayo, even though you have escort, you are going to use almost 6 hours before you can get to Abeokuta, if no more. Why? Why? Because the road was so bad, and then if you complain, the governor of the Ogun State will say that that road is a federal government road. Who is passing that road? Doesn't mean that people from Abuja come to Lagos State and are passing through that road to Ogun State. No. The last question up on the list is this. You were saying that we have to hold our governor accountable. As a youth leader, please give us, how do we hold these people accountable? Because this governor, even the money made for the local government, they were not given to them. Mr. President, I could remember he took them to the court. What is the state of that case? Because he wanted the money to go direct to the local government, but this government, they were soft corner all those things. How do we hold these people accountable? Because we are suffering.
All right, Yakubu, your point is made. Thank you very much. He actually talked about the issue of student loan, which has not even been postponed for 14 days by NEL Fund. He also raised the issue of infrastructure. You alluded to the infrastructure development in different states, but he specifically mentioned Lagos Abeokuta road. If you go through Songo, and holding your governors accountable. These are some of the issues that he raised. How would you react to that?
So there are fundamental issues around this, and I agree with him on some of the point which he alluded to. Some of the point I raised earlier. First, on the student loan, as you said, the efforts to now, like I also said earlier, many of these are new initiatives that requires a lot of systems to be put in place, and so I'm sure when the student loan is implemented, it would scale at different stages, and probably even have more legislation to improve its what is called after iteration stage. Then, in terms of governors and all of that, I mentioned it earlier that a lot of governors are doing well, but there are just some that also needs to do way better. We're also speaking recently with someone about the governor of Ekiti State, Bao, and how it makes very little noise, but it makes a lot of impact. A lot of them as well. But there are also areas that needs to be improved because there are more money from the president through FAC in the hands of the governors. Now, I cannot say this is a particular person that is not what is called. But what I would say in essence is, as citizens, we also need to come together in terms of holding governors accountable. We have our House of Assembly, for example. They are representative. We can lobby, the House of Assembly members. We can, express our displeasure at, government leaders. We can have peaceful rallies and, let them know that, this is our concern. We can also write, to these leaders. We can also, use our House of Assembly to get them to organize public hearings, go to your members and your leaders and all of that. But it's not just the governors, even your local government. It's not the local government that the governors are holding in their hand, their money in their hand. Some local government are receiving their own money directly. And, local roads in the local government, they expect, they're not even doing. Some local government chairmen should not even be councillors. All
right, Mr. Israel, just hold on. We have George joining us from Ikeja. George, the ball is in your court.
Good morning, Brian, and good morning to the youth leader.
Good morning to you.
Mr. Israel, I'm beginning to buy into your argument that youth should be given a chance. If you look at the cabinet of Mr. President, more than half of them are young people. And a good number of the ministers, for example, that are young are making remarkable impressions. Minister of Interior, for example, doing many things that others could not do before. Minister of Aviation, the Bosun Tijani, the ICT minister, even some governors that are young. You look at Lagos, see what the young man has been doing. You look at even Zamfara now. You look at Niger. You look at Katsina. You look at Sokoto. You look at Enugu, even though it's a different party. But these are young people, and you can see that they are making a lot of difference in governance. So that tells me that the argument that youth are advancing, that they should be given a chance, it has some potency. So that is that one. But there was one question I want to ask you. One of the presidential candidates in the last election is going about with his supporters promoting false narratives on social media. You, the young people in the government party, why are you giving them the chance to promote false narratives? Because Nigeria has a largely gullible population. When somebody promotes falsehood and you don't counter it with truth, sooner than later people will take it for truth. Is it deliberate that you just allow them to run riot on the social media? Or do you have a strategy you are planning towards it? It's just a question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. The question will be answered by Mr. Israel because we need to quickly take a break. But it's very important to say that even though it is stating the fact that there are some who would definitely take information hook, line, and sinker, not everyone is gullible. There are so many intelligent Nigerians who are definitely in the country. But then you're still watching this morning on TVC News. We'll take a break and be back in just a moment. Do stay with us. Agenda and how the youth wing of the party, especially the party itself, has been driving on the message of renewed hope agenda to all Nigerians, especially Nigerians who are skeptical about how this administration is running the affairs and then the attendant issues that Nigerians are facing. But then he's been making sense of all of these, economic policies, plans and programs of the current administration. But before we went on that short break, we had Mr. George who called us from Ikeja, and he raised concerns about those who have been misinforming, disinforming, and spreading false information about fake news about the current administration and even other issues. We saw what some of them said about the president when he went to South Africa. We saw what some of them said about the actions some of them did about the national anthem, etc., etc. So he's not worried about why is it that it looks like the party is watching them unconcerned without debunking or refuting some of these claims.
First, thank you, Mr. George, for that question. The truth is that social media is a leveler, and so it gives everybody the chance to speak. Everybody is a journalist on Twitter. Everybody can come with a breaking news on Twitter, and that's the power of social media. However, we understand that, and as a party, I think that we have put in place various structures at different levels, a system to deal with some of these things. Yes, there are a lot of all their fake news mongering going on, but we have also been able to every time, excuse me, be on the defensive to be able to ensure that we counter their narrative. And one of the things that you would agree that APC does is that we come with receipt, we come with fact. In the structure alone, in the government alone, we have the team led by Ortega, the Tiger. They're doing fantastically well. The special advisor to the president as well. The two of them, Ajuri and Mr. Bayo, they've been doing a lot in ensuring that no fake news or misinformation sees the light of day. Also at the party, because like I said earlier, the party holds ourselves responsible for the administration. And so you would agree that we have one of the most vociferous spokesperson of the party in a recent time in my colleague Felix Moka, the National Public Secretary, and his deputy Duro Meseko. They don't give journalists, they don't give fake journalists on Twitter journalists, the chance to bring out fake information against the Nigerian people and the administration. We provide facts and information on that. Also at the level of the youth wing, I was just in, one of the things I focused on in the last 5 months was to understudy youth wing systems across the world, how youth wings in different countries are working. I was in India in February. I was with the Indian Youth Congress, the youth wing. I visited their secretariat, understudied and had sessions with the youth leadership structure. I was in Ghana, I think it was in March, end of March. I was with the youth wing as well. I visited their center. They have a media center. They have fantastic complex and duplex, where they operate from. They have a strong media machinery. As a matter of fact, India Youth Wing has over 35 full-time staff on their social media alone. Right. Also, recently, I was just in Morocco. I met with the national youth leader, all their youth wing leadership. We spent a few times, understudying their processes. That's right. This was just last month. That's right. And thereabout. So part of what we're also doing is to see how we can also now, at the level of the youth wing of the party, set up our own media structure internally. That's
right, so that you can counter some of these, fake news and all of that. Let me quickly bring in Alhaji Subar, who is calling us from Alimosho. Mr. Subar, please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to your guest, Mr. Israel. Good morning. Please, I just want to re-echo the issue of social media propaganda. Social media propaganda, I want to use to lay emphasis on that, because we know what has happened in the past. Most of the people behind the social media propaganda, we know their antecedents and we know their track record. They are not there, to give Nigeria a good thing, but they are there to damage. So I want the youth, the youth leader, Mr. Israel, to do a lot of work on that. That not only that, my emphasis, which I want Mr. Israel to, participate or to echo that into the government of the day, is about our youth being japa. A lot of them, they are now japa. They have the habit of being, going to abroad, and we are losing a lot of brain, young brain. You understand? You see, so that we want our youth to be a kind of useful, to our economy in this country. It's telling a lot of them. I'm also, look at our refinery, which is not working. The refinery is working. A lot of you will be working there. Let me tell you, as I'm talking, I'm a product of farmer. You understand? I remember when I was in school, my dad, what we have in the West is cocoa and, cola nuts. We used to carry cola nuts to the north. Every region has both of their economy, both of what they can produce, to make Nigeria grow. In the way we have cocoa, we have cola nuts, we have, palm oil. So, you see, that is where, I'm worried about the government so that, you as a youth leader, participate and encourage the government.
That's
so
right.
that they can develop on this, make a clean environment for our country so that our youth will not be, continue to...
Thank you very much, Alhaji
Subar.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Subar. So, he actually took that out of my mouth because I was going to ask you as regards, what the National Bureau of Statistics figure actually said about the unemployment rate, which is now over 40. And would you say that the reality, based on all of the things that we're seeing, the reality on the ground, because of an average Nigerian, is extremely looking to japa, so to speak. They are wanting out of the country to seek greener pasture because they believe that when they get there, things are better, things are okay, more than their own birth country. So, how much has been done to reverse this trend?
So thank you. Let me come from first the social media angle that I was talking about. Let me finish what I said. So one of the things that I had done on those trips that I mentioned was to take along my youth leaders with me. So, for example, when I went to Morocco, I had a zonal youth leader from Southeast. I had a state youth leader or two or so. I had local government youth leaders, senatorial youth leaders. When I traveled to any of these destinations, when I went to Ghana, I had about 16 young people from different structures of our party. And the idea is to give them the exposure to see what is going on in other climes and then come back and we can put heads together to build a structure that would provide services to Nigerian youth. Now, we are doing our best to begin to put structure in place, but my ideology is that you cannot be the only smart one in the room. And so if I can expose other young people that are working with me, my youth leaders at different level of structure, we think alike, we see what's happening in the part of the world, we can have constructive conversations about our interventions in tackling issues like social media. They've seen how other youth wing in other parts of the world are running their structure. The only challenge we have is that we don't have funding. For example, in my office, it's just one room in the National Secretariat of the APC in Abuja. We don't have a physical structure that is the youth wing of the party, unlike Ghana and many of these other countries. We're doing our best to mobilize resources to be able to achieve a lot more than we want to do for young people. But now let's get into the issues of japa. I have a different perception, unfortunately, about this whole matter. And I'll tell you my own. I'm speaking to this like I'm talking to a brother. I lived in England for about 15 years. Went to one or two other countries, lived in one or two other places in the meantime. Then moved back to England and all of that until I moved back to Nigeria some years ago. And when I lived there, it was expository for me. Many of the confidence that I have today about the things that I do, many of the ways that I handle issues now today were things I learned from living in those societies. And then after a while, I felt it was time for me to come back home like Nehemiah and help to rebuild my country. So I would say that I don't have, personally, and I'm not saying this is the position of my party, personally, I don't have an issue with our young people going out there to have a different perspective. Some of us will stay to build the house because I know that they would come back as soon as they begin to see the result of what we're doing. They will bring their expertise back. Many of them, their mind is here, but they've just wanted to go and see what they can do and as we begin to build confidence, because the responsibility is now on us as a government and a party to build the Nigeria they want to come back to. So I see it as a challenge that, yes, they want to go. It's important that, they see those things. Many of them then begins to come back as we see, the progress that even the children of Israel went to a strange land. But then when time was right, they returned back to the land of Canaan. So I believe that, yes, they're challenged. I understand that there's also dimension that many of them are not happy. That's why they're leaving. But I see it from a positive perspective that, there's some exposure that you get from just living in those societies. And you see, because, the military has done so much for our country that there's so many mindset and stereotypes and thinking that we have in this country because of the years of militarization. Some things that should not be normal have been seen as normal. So when our people go out there and see how things are done differently, they even come back as better citizens. They're able to also do a lot. And many young people are ready to come back home. And what we are now doing as a government, as a party, is to make sure that we build Nigeria to a level that they want to come back home themselves without even any lobbying to them. So we are taking this as a challenge that let's begin to do our best to build Nigeria. Let's make the economy better. Let's make it easy for them. I talked to you earlier about how a friend of mine, she's just in her 30s, and she just walked into a store, used her credit rating, and brought a 2023 Range Rover. You need cash down in Nigeria for that kind of experience. You understand? The president has said, okay, I want to create that experience for you. I'm going to start with the consumer credit system. He's not going to get to the American level overnight. It will take one administration or two administrations thereabout. But you will then begin to see results. When we do our job, that's the importance for us, that we have not lost sight of our vision to make Nigeria livable for the Nigerian people. The people will voluntarily come back home here and want to come and live here. So those who are going, let's encourage them to make the best use, to be good ambassadors, to see the best, and be preparing themselves to come back and use their skills. Right. But those of us who are staying, we must be ready with our sweat, tears, and blood to make Nigeria better, that they want to come back. And by the time they are coming back, they will meet us here already successful, even more successful, that they are now envious of us.
All right. Saratu is in Niger State and is joining us. Saratu, please make your point. Oh, I'm afraid we lost connectivity with Saratu. I hope you'll be able to call back. But then let's change tack a bit, talking about the Nigerian youth and politics. Because if you look at the recent survey by the Nigerian Institute of Legislative Studies, they said about 70% of young Nigerians are disenchanted with the political process, especially the fallout of the 2023 general election. Some still believe that, no, it was my party that won. The others still, believe that it wasn't, free and fair, even though there are so many indications to show that it was even one of the fairest elections, according to international observers and all of that. But how do you think the APC has been doing to engage with the youth, the young people, and restore their trust in the political system?
So there are two sides to it. There's what the government is doing and there's what the party is doing. For us as a party, we're doing a lot in recent. That's one of the reasons why I said I've been leading my teams even without any, funding from, the party structure to expose.
Okay, before you answer that, let's quickly bring in Wale, who is calling from Amukoko. Wale, quickly, you have just about a minute.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you, Wale.
Okay, well done, Mr. Israel. I want to really commend you that I like your energy and I like, I've been following you a lot, and I like the way you carry the attitude and the work of being a youth leader, and I think you are doing right. But sorry, I wanted to disagree with you in the issue of the jackpotting job. I wanted to believe that the youth are not mentored enough, they are not being talked to what it really means, to have opportunity here. So, just like you said, it's not a bad idea, going out there, to expose, to get more experience and all of that. But I believe most of people that go there, they are not giving the right idea, they are not giving the right mood. They believe that place is Eldorado, this place is hell, which is, God forbid, is not. And, they need to know that there is a lot of opportunities to be made there. There is a lot of opportunity to be open. When the local government is open, the councillors are open to the people in this community, to come and mentor them. Not them, looking for them up and down. Like in my community in Amukoko, there are a lot of issues of gangsterism, open beer parlors and all of that, corrupting the youth and all of that. What are the councillors doing? They are not doing anything yet. Even me myself, I'm a young guy, inside my office, talking to you now, a lot of customers, working. I'm a agency marketing operator, and a lot of customers working. They meet me watching the news, watching even BBC, CNN, and all these Fox News and online. The way they go to the grass and encourage their people and all of that. And people used to tell me something like, "Why are you watching the news all the time?" And then I wanted to get informed. I want to know the truth of the lie. Like this propaganda of the thing that you are talking about. If the government are there, how many people immediately they tweet any wrong information, the government actually is there to detect.
That's right.
Just like they do in the US and other clients, immediately. Not making it.
All right, your point is made, Wale. Thank you very much, Wale.
Thank you very much. We have a lot to do.
Absolutely, and I guess you've actually spoken to most of the things that he raised. Could you proceed?
But I also agree with him, and that's why I said earlier about my position about people going. Now, there are two sides to every coin, and so one side I see that, let people go and get exposure, but that doesn't take away, like I also mentioned, the responsibility from us as a government to do right with the Nigerian youth and to do right with those who have chosen to stay or those who are compelled to stay. And also we have a duty. And that's why since I spent the first 4 parts of this year going to understudy, the first 4 months, with my team of youth leaders up to local government youth leaders. For example, the youth leader of Ajiromi Fellow was on my delegation to Ghana. I had one of our young people from Borno State as well. And Nasarawa youth leader was with me to Morocco and all of that, to see things, and then so that we can now also, because the national leader cannot be everywhere. I have youth leaders. I have under my structure about 200,000 youth leaders. I'm one. There's the deputy youth leader. There's 36 state youth leaders. There's 6 zonal youth leaders from the different zone. There's 36 state youth leaders. They have their deputy. They have 109 senatorial youth leaders.
You feel that these youth leaders are connecting to the grassroots?
So yes, of course, over time, the way youth leaders are being used or being, have just been about election. And so what I'm trying to do is to create a new mindset among the youth leaders and show them that we can be focused more than election mobilization. We can become impactful. And that's why I've been doing this exchange program. For example, when we're in Morocco, we had a bilateral meeting with the mayor of Morocco. And we're starting mayor of Rabat. And we're starting a program called the Progressive City Council Leaders program. And what we're doing is that we want to focus on APC council leaders, so chairmen and councillors. We want to take them on an exchange program. We want to organize trainings for them, to even locally and also with the Morocco government, to build their capacity for them to be effective. Because when they're effective in their communities, we will see the output in the lives, and our party will not need to be doing a lot to campaign for them or for our party, because they would have seen the impact. You want the president to be successful, the administration. It's not just on the president alone. We need people at the grassroots, and that's what he was saying in his local government. It's not the national leader that needs to come and be effective in that local government or in the state. It is the local government. They have a senatorial youth leader for that senatorial district. As a matter of fact, in Lagos, in my last trip, I think I had a senatorial leader from Lagos West on the trip with me. Right. And so they see these things, they're exposed. My goal is to build their capacity to be able to respond to these issues. We have a forum of senatorial leaders in Nigeria. I'm working with them, for example, to organize a forum and national training in Abuja that will build their capacity. Let's begin to release our young people to become impactful.
We have just a few minutes to go. Saratu, I think I'll be giving you a minute. Quickly, make a point. You're calling from Niger State. Saratu, are you there?
Yes, please. Good morning, Ibrahim. Good morning, Israel.
Good morning, Saratu. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I can really feel that Israel's energy, and I think he's really, really true to this cause. I hope this energy he has now will stay true into a lifetime. And I will hope that this kind of energy, this kind of intelligence we are seeing, will be extended to the north. I think these smart guys are always in Lagos and its environment. Please, we want you to be spread up to the north. So I feel you and we pray for you. We are rooting for you, Dara. Have a blessed day.
Actually, give the young a chance. Smart guys are actually everywhere in Nigeria.
I was going to mention when we were in Morocco at the bilateral with some health organizations there, and we're looking at how we can have young medical doctors and health professionals from Nigeria do stuff with them, particularly from our party. And my Nasarawa state leader, when he began to speak, he has background in public health. My zonal youth leader for North East, Jason Mabakwage, has a doctorate degree, a PhD, and many of these young people have potential that are lying down there. Part of what I'm advocating for and what I'm trying to push for, even internally in our party, is for us to begin to open the doors to help young people to be able to see opportunities to fly and all of that. We don't have the resources yet to do it, but we have the passion, the commitment, and as things begin to improve within the party, we would be able to do more for
How time flies. We actually have less than a minute to wrap up. So your final message to the Nigerian youth and Nigeria as a whole, very quickly.
I think my final message to Nigerian people, and particularly the Nigerian youth, is that you must hold your destiny. You must decide to stand up and do something with yourself. I lost my father when I was 11. A lot of people know my story. I was raised by a single mother in Ebutemeta in Lagos. But I made a life decision to give life a meaning. And so no matter what the society is, no matter what the price of fuel is or the price of dollar is, the decision to succeed starts from inside of you. You have the first responsibility to choose to be a difference, change your values, improve yourself, and make sure that you have that resilience, the tenacity, and the grit to become successful. Life is not a bed of roses, but you can make yourself successful with great tenacity and resilience. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, APC National Youth Leader, Dayo Israel. Thank you so much. You know, you've been commended for your energy and also the ability to also marshal your points, you know, giving Nigerians especially things they need to know about this administration. But then Nigerians can't really wait, you know, to see the result, the dividends of their votes. Thank you very kindly once again, you know, for your keenness of insight on the show today. Thank you so much.